In 2019, a quiet mechanic from Alabama was found dead in the woods behind his workplace. No witnesses, no suspects. Just one haunting detail: the man's dog refused to leave his grave. Some called it grief. Some called it loyalty. But no one realized the dog was guarding a secret buried deeper than anyone imagined. Tom Bennett wasn't a man people noticed. He was gentle, patient, and far too kind for the world he lived in. He worked long hours at Crane Industries, a massive auto plant owned by Victor Crane, the kind of man who thought money could buy silence, fear, and loyalty all at once. Victor was ruthless, powerful, untouchable, and in his eyes, Tom was just another worker he could control. But Victor underestimated him.
One stormy Thursday night, Tom stayed late to repair a broken conveyor belt. He walked past Victor's office and saw a folder sitting open on the desk. Curiosity stopped him. Inside were documents, chemical disposal reports, fake signatures, falsified safety forms. They proved that Victor had been illegally dumping toxic waste into the town's creek. Tom froze. He knew what this meant. His small town had been drinking poisoned water for years. Babies, mothers, families, all of them at risk. He quietly copied everything onto a small USB drive, slipped it into his jacket pocket, locked the office, and drove home. That was the last time anyone saw him alive.
The next morning, his truck was found abandoned near a dirt road. His body was discovered a few hours later, half buried beneath wet leaves. Bruised, cold, still wearing his work uniform. The sheriff ruled it an accident, said he probably fell and hit his head. The case was closed in 6 hours. No autopsy, no investigation, just silence. Because Victor Crane didn't allow questions. But Tom's dog, Max, didn't accept silence. The German shepherd pressed his nose to Tom's shirt and growled low, as if he knew the truth. At the funeral, Max lay beside the coffin and refused to move. He didn't eat. He didn't bark. He just waited. When they lowered the casket, he howled a long, broken sound that made even the hardest men in town look away. From that day on, Max refused to leave the grave. Day after day, rain or shine, he stayed. Neighbors brought food. He wouldn't eat. They tried to take him home. He bit one of them. He wasn't grieving, he was waiting. 3 weeks later, the groundskeeper noticed Max digging near the grave, barking furiously, whining, scratching at something hidden in the soil. He called Tom's sister, Lily. She ran to the cemetery, knelt beside the dog, and began digging with her bare hands. Moments later, she hit something hard, a small metal box, rusted and taped shut. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was Tom's old work jacket. In its pocket, the missing USB drive. The one no one knew existed. But there was more. Inside the box was a torn piece of fabric soaked with dried blood. It didn't belong to Tom. Forensics later confirmed it was Victor Crane's blood. That box cracked open everything. Lily turned the evidence over to the authorities, and when investigators opened the USB drive, the truth lit up their screens like a bomb. Documents, emails, bank records, all showing years of environmental crimes, cover-ups, and blackmail proof that Victor Crane had been poisoning his own town for profit. The case exploded. Detectives reopened Tom's file, and when they matched the blood from the box to Victor, everything unraveled. Witnesses came forward. Workers who had been too afraid to speak finally told the truth. They said Victor called Tom to the plant the night he died, said they heard shouting, then silence. Within days, Victor Crane was arrested for murder, fraud, and conspiracy. In the courtroom, Victor's lawyers fought hard. They blamed Tom. They blamed Lily. They even suggested someone planted the box to frame him. But the evidence was too strong, and sitting quietly in the back row was Max the dog who refused to give up. When the verdict came down guilty on all counts, the courtroom erupted. Reporters called Max a hero, the dog who solved a murder. The town cheered. Lily cried. Justice at last had been served. For a moment, it seemed the world made sense again. The powerful man had fallen. The underdog had won. Tom's loyalty to truth and Max's loyalty to him had outlived fear itself. The story spread across the country. Documentaries, news headlines, tributes. Max was even given a medal by the sheriff's department. The people believed the story was over. But loyalty doesn't rest easy. 6 months later, the new cemetery caretaker quit his job. He told police he couldn't sleep. Every night around 2 a.m., Max would start barking again, fur bristled, eyes fixed on Tom's grave. The same grave he had guarded before the truth came out. The same spot where he once found the box that changed everything. But now, he was digging again. When the caretaker finally went to check, he saw the dirt disturbed. Something metallic glimmered beneath the soil. Another box. He dug it out with shaking hands and opened it. Inside was a single envelope, no name, no return address. Inside the envelope, a note. It read, "You buried the wrong man." The caretaker dropped it and ran. Max just sat there in the dark, staring into the hole he had dug, growling low at the night air. The police were called, but by the time they arrived, the note was gone. Only the box remained. And Max, he was sitting perfectly still, eyes locked on something beyond the grave, as if waiting again. Maybe justice wasn't finished. Maybe Tom Bennett's story wasn't over. Because sometimes the truth doesn't stay buried. Sometimes the dead have one more story to tell.
You buried the wrong man. Those words changed everything. And as Max sat by the grave, staring into the cold night, one thing became clear. The real killer is still out there. Subscribe and comment. Continue if you want part 2.